Welcome to Happily Ever Aftermath, the podcast that explores the movies that influenced how we view love and romantic relationships. Yes, there will be spoilers. I'm your host, Diana Rojek-Sconard. Let me know when your whole life goes up in smoke. Means it's time for a promotion. We're here to talk about The Devil Wears Prada from 2006, and I'm very happy to welcome Marie and Coni from Drunk on Rom-Coms. Hello!
Hi, Diana!
Thanks for joining me. How are you doing?
We're doing great. We're super excited to talk about this movie. Let's do it.
Excellent.
So many thoughts.
Oh, great. Perfect. So when I reached out to you, we actually met you. I love this. I met you through Instagram.
Yes. So trendy of us.
Oh my goodness. If anything, you're making me trendy by proxy. So I appreciate that. And then I asked if you were interested in joining and you said yes. And The Devil Wears Prada was your choice. What made you decide this movie?
Well, I will say we were trying to figure out, what's a great movie that we can definitely relate to from a relationship standpoint. And a lot of rom-coms that we do watch, rom-coms in general, we watch just as like an escape, right? to not think about some of the negatives. So it's like a positive outlet for us. But with Devil Wears Prada, there's some great themes in here that we thought would be great to talk about. And we might not have normally talked about it because it's not really considered like a rom-com.
Sure.
But we love the idea of talking about it on your podcast. So we're like, let's do it. Let's break this down with Diana.
Awesome.
And I think that we've both been assistants. So that we can dive into that later, but definitely I think that we can relate to that as well.
Got it. Oh, wow. Amazing. And so, yes. And thank you for, clarifying that too, because, I looked at the movies that you've covered, lighter. Of course, they have the drama and they have the issues and then the reconciliation for the most part, because rom-coms they tend to err on the side of, the happily ever after, which I'm not going to argue with. Mm-hmm. But yes, come to my podcast. Let's talk about the hot messes if we shall.
Yes.
So for those of you, actually, it just had its 15th anniversary, and helpful is that there was a couple of like reunion shows like this month, which actually worked out pretty well. I opted not to read all of the articles because the screenwriter actually said what happens next, and I'm like, we're going to block that until I want a clean brain for my own predictions, and then what we decide to do with what they said, we can worry about that later. But so for The Devil Wears Prada, it stars Anne Hathaway. It stars Meryl Streep.
Right. Yes. First things first.
And Anne Hathaway also happens to be in the movie, as well as Emily Blunt, Stanley Tucci, Adrian Grenier, Simon Baker, and a little bit of Gisele Bündchen, which I thought was kind of great. But Anne Hathaway's Andy is a recent college graduate with big dreams. Upon landing a job at prestigious Runway magazine, she finds herself the assistant to diabolical editor Miranda Priestly, and Annie questions her ability to survive. And that is accurate. So good job on that
description.
Yeah, good job.
Thumbs
Google
up.
wrote that. Yeah, exactly. So you know what? I'm just going to open up the floor to either of you. Don't fight, but where would you like to get started?
Can we talk about this interview though? This beginning of the movie of her interviewing with Miranda.
Sure.
I'm trying to do it by names because on Drunk on Rom-Coms, we're not great with names sometimes. So
now we call them like Anne Hathaway's character or Meryl Streep.
That flies here. Not even a worry. Her name is Andy or Andrea. Right. When she's extra nervous, she'll do her whole spiel, but that doesn't even doesn't matter. And it definitely comes out in the interview. So yeah, what is it in particular that just made you go like, oh wow, oh right, I saw the movie, I can answer that, but please continue.
So I was just amazed that she even got this interview with someone as grand and fabulous and very scary as Miranda. Mm-hmm. Looking the way she did. She looked, I don't know, I can't think of a better word. Connie, maybe you might have a better word, but the only thing that comes to mind is frumpy.
Yeah, that's accurate.
And I feel like as smart as she is, I feel like she would have done her preparation for interviews. Like she would have done her homework, especially meeting with like, a CEO type, editor-in-chief kind of company. You would have done your homework to do your best, to put your best foot forward, and you're looking like you do.
Right.
And talking, I think a little disrespectfully in an interview of like, I don't really need this, but I'm here.
Mhm.
Well, it's all about how the movie also makes it seem, because in all of these romantic comedies that we review, sometimes it's a little over the top. So I get it that they were trying to make her look as run down as possible so that she could have a glow up later. I understand that.
That's brilliant.
I mean, I feel like it's a little Princess Diaries-esque.
I was gonna go right there. They didn't give her the eyebrows, but they just get her like haggard in a I'm tired way, not in a heroic way. On behalf of somebody with naturally curly hair, I resent that makeover, but that's okay.
I have naturally curly hair too. If I blow dry it, it's just like
wow. Absolutely. As much as I said I didn't read all of the new interviews that have come out, I did go down a YouTube rabbit hole of deleted scenes.
Ooh.
Yeah. And it turns out, so I also read the book. I read the book when it came out, and I saw the movie like maybe a little bit after it came out. And so what was interesting about the deleted scenes is she was haggard because they cut out the scene where it turns out she went to the wrong side of town. So she had to bolt all the way back. And that's actually in the book as well. Again, I read a lot, even though I didn't read all of the stuff. But it was just a YouTube clip of a series of all the deleted scenes. And then I read in the comments, I'm like, oh, that explains why she was so unprepared, looking like crap. And I'm like, well, half and half. Half and half. And they made a comment later in the movie is that she was only offered two things, like this and like Auto Universe. Yeah, exactly. And so they actually have that in there where she's being like said, we only have it, and it got worse too, where she's like, I only have two things ready for you. It's like this and this. And she laughed at the first one. She's like, okay, what was the second one again? And then she starts running. It was all supposed to be happening in the same day. So it's like more sympathetic to her, but I agree with you. And in fact, a lot of the internet agrees with you. Why is she showing up like crap? Unprepared, half and half, where it's like, they're kind of throwing her into it too, but also she's a journalist. So she didn't do some of her homework as well. So I'm gonna do half points for everybody.
Right.
Woo!
One of the other things I want to ask you, actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna take that back because I want to know your fresh thoughts. So I'll come back to it later, but tell me a little bit about when was the first time you saw this movie?
For me, I saw it when it came out. So we were actually talking about this. How old were we? Marie and I think we were 15 when this came
16,
out. So yeah, okay. 15, 16.
Got it.
So I personally did not like Andy's character. I didn't like the Simon Baker's character, who was, I think his name was Christian in the movie.
Doesn't matter.
He was the editor. Okay. So I just didn't get why she was so mean to her boyfriend. And it was just me being really naive to relationships. I had never been in one. So I'm like, I don't like this movie at all. That was my first impression.
Okay. You, Marie.
Oh, that's so funny. Kind of similar in the sense, because at that point it was maybe the very beginning of when I started dating and exploring boys and having those kinds of fun conversations. And so, very, very similar of like, how dare she put her work before her man? And, having that kind of attitude of like, well, see, look, this is what happens, girl. You got in this mess. And be like, here's this nice boy who's just waiting at home for you. He's smarter. Like that. I was very dumb at that point in time. And so, it was so funny to see the difference. And also during that time, in a very interesting way, I was like kind of inspired by Meryl Streep's character, just because maybe at that time, I don't know, I probably hadn't seen a lot of like, strong top level female CEO type characters in movies, like just owning it. And so, watching that was like a little bit inspiring, but also like, okay, I want to like hit that level, but like not too much, like not go that far.
Do you want to be terrifying to your employees later on? Yes.
I want to be powerful.
Yes.
But like in a nice way.
Yeah.
The right elements of it. It's actually very comforting to hear your initial perspectives, because the first time I saw this movie, I had just graduated from college and I had just started my first full-time post-college job. And so when you, Connie, had said like, oh, I didn't really like Andy's character, my version of that was I felt embodied by Andy because, taking a few steps back, I had the same perspective. I was serious person waiting to start the serious job. And then in an attempt to try to do something, she kind of looked down on it. And watching it again, it was really slicing certain things and people's reactions to her. But ultimately, the first time I watched that movie, I started off with like, yeah, this shit is really, really hard when you get started and you don't know what you're doing and you're just thrown into the deep end. Mm-hmm. And then when she gets the dressing down from Nigel saying, you're whining, quit, try harder. I'm like, oh God, I'm a whiner. I don't know. And then I walked out of that entire movie thinking that there was something wrong with me and I just need to try harder at all things all the time. And that's when the anxiety kicked in. And that's not true. I had anxiety beforehand. It's just that Stanley Tucci was actually, I really liked Stanley Tucci too. And if he's saying this, why wouldn't I agree with that? So I, on rewatch, was honestly like, it was all coming back to me. I was having weird flashbacks to that very insecure person again. And I was really trying to differentiate the two, where it's just like, okay. I believe Stanley Tucci was referring to her dismissive nature towards the fashion industry, which was fair. Mm-hmm. On the other side of it, though, you're right, Marie. Be powerful, but don't do that.
Right. There's just a limit.
Don't do that, because I understand on the rom-com element of it, there's supposed to be like the over the topness of like, can I get that piece of paper I had in my hand yesterday?
Right.
Great.
Although I was having some PTSD of like some of the requests.
Yeah, fortunately it's never been that piece of paper, but it's like some equivalent to it. Like, what was that thing I said yesterday in that meeting? I'm like, I don't know. It wasn't even at the meeting. I don't know, but I'm the one who's supposed to help you. So let me go ask somebody who's there. So, oh my God, I feel so seen right now. Oh my goodness. So
I appreciate the realism of the assistant life.
Yeah. Right. So you both were assistants. Like, how close did it get with what you saw?
I was a department assistant for the whole department, not just one person. So it's difficult. And I think maybe I would have appreciated just having one person to go to instead of, hey, can you buy paper towels? Hey, we need this. Hey, it's a party. We need cake. Can you run down to the store and buy supplies? I'm like, okay, yes. So it was up to that point.
I don't know, Connie. I don't know. Because I've taken care of a VP level and then multiple senior VPs at the same time. And that was very much in the entertainment industry. So I don't know if it's the same with other high level executives. Maybe it's their own version, but there's a lot of personality that comes with those people. So, some of the like random requests I got was trying to find a Woody costume, like a high level looking Woody costume for his 5-year-old's classroom Halloween dress up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so like his son was going to be like Buzz. And so he was like, find me some like expensive looking Woody like outfit by 5:00 today. and like shit like that. Oh, I think another one, I had to return some underwear that one of the bosses ordered. I had to like wrap up a boss's finger when she got into work that morning because she sliced it with her blender and didn't want to go to the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Like I got wild stories, you guys.
Dang. Oh, So real. So we'll look forward to your next podcast.
Oh yeah, at some point we'll probably do Set It Up, and then we'll go into those stories.
Yes,
got it. Wow. Oh, I love this. You're bringing like the real life, because when I was younger, the movie doing that was Office Space. So it was very easy to kind of relate to that. This is like the new brand in a very specific type of industry, but it's again, it's like the hard part though is that for this, it's enhanced for comic effect. Whereas in Office Space, I'm just like, oh, that's not enhanced. That's just there.
That's it.
Yeah, but with what you described, maybe it's not enhanced. So thank you for the insight. Woof. Scary. And also, to show our age difference, when you said, I was like, oh no, is this going to be one of those things where you show up with a Woody Woodpecker costume instead of Woody from Toy Story? And it's like, I'm sorry, do you mean Woody Woodpecker or from Toy Story? I don't have time for your questions.
Right. Oh God. Mine was more of like, well, how much am I allowed to spend? Like, where can I drive it? And it was like, no, just get it. Okay.
Was it with their money? Because I had to use my money and then get reimbursed.
Oh my gosh, Connie.
I know.
For the listeners at home, all mouths dropped at the same time. Oh my God. Okay. So before I start having, as you mentioned before, PTSD, which all due respect to people who have the actual version of it, if I start tingling like in my cheeks and I go quite red, it just means that I've gone back there. So, okay, deep breath. Alrighty. It was mentioned earlier, Marie, you said that, how could Anne Hathaway treat her man that way? Now that you have watched it again, has anything changed? I imagine it has, since you mentioned it.
So much, Diana, so much. I feel like at one point in the early 20s phase of my life, I was Andy, and living through that part of trying to, realizing I was actually getting better at my job and doing well, and at the sacrifice of somebody else's time and like their company, and, coming to that crossroads of the man saying that I'm not putting him first enough. And, having to make those kinds of decisions of like, well, hold on. If I am actually enjoying what I'm doing and I'm good at it, I'm going to do it. And if I don't get that support from you, then, what are we doing?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, watching this later in life, at the age we are now, it was definitely eye-opening of like, no, Andy was just doing Andy, and that shouldn't be a fault.
No.
And especially for somebody, this dude was his Nate. This guy's Nate.
Yep.
He's a chef. Don't they work late hours anyway?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Like off hours too, like depending on how much prep he needs to do in the beginning. Oh.
So I was like, nah, Nate, you go do you, I'm gonna do me.
And that's how I took it too. I liked Andy in this now that I'm older and I'm watching it again. They just grow apart. And sometimes in relationships, I didn't understand that sometimes you just are going one way and you're growing, and sometimes the other person isn't growing with you and the goals aren't the same. And unfortunately, that's what happened to them.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just now that
values change.
Exactly.
Values, interests, circles of friends. I mean, we'll take a couple minutes to talk about the friends, but but no, you're 100% right. And it was, I mean, again, early to mid 20s we're talking about right now, because I'm not positive how old he was, but she just graduated from college, so mid 20s we're talking about here. There's a lot of mistakes to be made, even though you've graduated from college and just walked into something else. And trying to get ahead in New York City when you're already like so far behind anyways. Again, I don't have the personal experience, but the movies have taught me it's hard, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
It's big city.
And then subsequently, like my own life experiences, let's take out the big city, but it's really hard to just, get ahead. I'll do a little just like kind of commentary based on my own experiences that I'm going to latch on to Andy. But her dad had made a comment about how like you graduated here and you had the opportunity to go to Stanford Law School and now you're doing this. First of all, I don't appreciate his comment about how like having a job is less. So I kind of see where she got it from. Just barely. Thanks, movie. But also there's something about Andy probably has this you can do anything and you can accomplish anything thing. And that really provided a disservice to her when she was just like, okay, nothing is available to me right now. So I deem myself, Nigel's words, Stanley Tucci's words again, you deem yourself to be doing this work. So I'm going to say that that's probably there as well. That was just very subtly placed that I recognized. I'm not going to excuse it, but I felt it the whole way through of like getting the whole like, oh my God, you're so smart. You can do anything. Wait, my mom said I'm really smart and I can do anything. Why don't I have a journalism job yet? In this case, her dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I agree with that whole thing. I'm actually really curious because, you know, a lot of the times when we get these movies, it's, you know, we kind of analyze, you know, when did they fall in love, but like we get to watch a relationship just kind of deteriorate in well, not real time because there was lots of montages,
but the progression of it we saw.
Yeah, exactly. And as it was happening, all right, so now I'll go back to that thing where I said, no, I want your clear brains. I want your clear brains and clear opinions, and I'll go back to that. So in the reunion, I'm seeing all these different headlines saying the guy who played Nate in, obviously these are better headlines. I'm not the journalist. You know, Adrian Grenier, who played Nate in The Devil Wears Prada, admits that Nate was the villain of the movie. And I'm like, well, okay, well, that's a little dramatic. Oh, clickbait, of course. But I'm reading that and I'm thinking, okay, Nate's a dick. Like totally 100%. But if we're saying Nate is the villain, that means that we have a hero. And if Connie, if you didn't like Andy from the beginning, who is our hero? I mean, she's our point of view, but see, now I'm just confused about the movie entirely. If Nate is the villain and then Connie's, you know, if Andy is the hero. So what are your thoughts on that? Just that headline right there.
I mean, I don't think necessarily that Nate is the villain. I just don't get it. I understand why he may have thought so. Maybe there's like a group of people that just don't like Nate out in the world because of things that he did. Like, let's say for his birthday party, he just like went to sleep. He didn't even talk about their problems. But yeah, he was hurt. Obviously, she didn't go. But I think the whole thing is like communication. They didn't communicate. Like, was she going to be late? Yeah, that is just one thing that I don't like about movies sometimes. But I don't think he's the villain. I think it was just a real world problems that happen, and that maybe people don't like watching that in movies.
Oh, nailed it so hard. Get out of my brain. Thank you. Oh, anything you want to add to that, Marie? Or is it just like, yes?
Yeah, I mean, just his whole character, it just is, it was a lot for me. It was giving me flashbacks. So it was very hard for me, but I do see what you're saying. I don't know if there is a clear villain here, but I don't think he's a good guy. I am not Team Nate in this movie.
Right. No.
You know, because I feel like everybody's got their flaws in this movie, except although I'm kind of a big fan of Nigel.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I wish I kind of had a Nigel who, you know, gave me a wake up call early on, you know, like who would, you know, kind of slap me straight and, you know, get my shit together, but also was there as a mentor to like really help a girl out, you know?
Right. And of course, I also have to give the caveat, the good mentor with the right message, not, I swear, if he referred to you by your size the whole time in an attempt to get you to lose weight. It's just like, I love you so much, Stanley Tucci. Please stop this right now.
Why are you like this?
I mean, if you and I had both agreed that I wanted to lose weight because I wanted to lose weight, then I still want you to bring the tough love down a bit. Let's never mind. Let's
let me wear my size 10.
I'm not going to say my size.
Nor am I. So, but point taken. Oh yeah. So no, I'm. See, this is so helpful in terms of like, you're just 100% validating all of my opinions as I'm going through this.
Yes.
And here we are 15 years later. Like, we watched it, we're just like, ooh, that feels kind of off. We watched it again. Still feels kind of off, but in a different way now, which is kind of fascinating. Okay. Very much appreciating this already. So if we're watching their relationship deteriorate in reverse, the original question is, when do they fall in love? But I'm going to ask like a little bit of just kind of a throw this at you. What do you think brought them together? We know nothing about how it is, but do you think there was something in them that made them a couple that lasted for as whatever it is that they're
long that
together?
they did?
Yeah.
I thought they were college lovers. That's what I like. That I think I assumed to myself. I'm calling them lovers.
Yeah, that took me.
Well, the clues were there, and also, call them that. They could. That's also accurate.
I think that they probably had the same major, or I don't know, maybe took one class together, maybe. I don't know, something that, but yes, they met in college, and that's where they started.
And that's where the friend group came from.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm using that as a segue. The friend group.
Let's go.
Again, as someone who read the book, it's actually less, well, actually it was a long time ago, so I'm not positive, but the catalyst of all these things was about her friend Lily, who was in there. I believe she was the one with the gallery opening. Again, you get very little of her friends, so it's just like kind of frustrating, but you get enough of them to go like, why are you picking on her?
Right?
You're like, all in this together in the beginning. What happened?
Well, in the beginning, they were all picking on each other. Like, I don't understand. I don't want to be friends with someone that's just like, why are you doing the gallery? And what do you have to show for yourself, kind of a thing. I didn't like that.
What kind of support is that, you guys?
Was that like early negging, but friend version or something?
I guess.
Okay. I mean, I used to get it. Yes, I used to make fun of my then boyfriend, now husband, because that's how you show love. And then after all, he's like, I don't really like that. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I will.
My bad.
Yeah. Apparently that's, so I'm guessing it's a product of the time situation. It's kind of like watching old episodes of Friends, and it's just like, wow, are they friends? Or are they just like really like crapping on each other? I may have actually learned, oh my God, I learned from Friends how to be friends. Not good. Okay.
Unless you still have the friends now, then something worked.
Fair enough. Oh, wow. So yeah, it also speaks to them like, this is how you treat your friends. This is how you treat your romantic partner and all this other stuff. So I guess the things about Nate, I really appreciate you noting that, if he's the villain, that's kind of an oversimplification. But some of the things he said in the not supportive realm, the parts that I couldn't tell, and I think the writer was trying to say like, Andy, you're changing and you're becoming somebody that you're not. And if I'm reading it correctly, he thinks that she's faking her way through this to get ahead. And I think that was the intention, because eventually at the end, she apologizes to him because, quote unquote, he was right. Thing is, I didn't fully get that in the context of it. I think she was definitely playing the game, but I think she was also enjoying and learning the pieces that she had.
Totally.
Yeah, she was finding herself. I don't think that at that age we know what we want to do and who we are. And maybe she wants to do a lot of journaling or be a journalist, but she's learning about fashion, and that's something else that she probably didn't know she liked.
Right.
I think I took it like that.
Right.
Yeah. And what's I've had this conversation of like, you've changed. Like, you're not who you were before. Like, this isn't who I fell in love with. It's like, no, this is 2.0 version. This is the growth of me, and so I was just frustrating for me is that like, instead of being supportive of her, you know, making that effort, whether or not she was like faking it till you make it, like that's also how this works with entry level work. Like if you're trying to get ahead, you got to like make that effort and show that, you know, you're willing to like put in the work and succeed. And by not getting that support from him, it's like, well, what are you doing, sir? You're burning some grilled cheese. That's what you're doing.
He did burn the grilled cheese.
Like, get out of here with that mess.
He is a professional. It's probably gourmet, slightly burnt.
The cheese is gourmet.
Oh, right. But it's all about ingredients, right? Oh man. So yes, I'm trying to figure that out. Again, it's one of those things where he's just like, you know, you've changed, and I love that 2.0. And if we're lucky, we're going to get a 3.0 and a 4.0 later on too. When I'm hearing him, let's call it from the beginning. When Andy is complaining at the beginning, and she is just kind of, you know, mocking the people that she works with. I think she called them the click clacks or something like that.
Oh yeah,
the clackers. So there is that. So what's interesting is that she kind of holds it into herself because she's a newbie, but she has her coworkers that just actually doing it to her face. She's just like, you know, they're just coming in like, oh my God, I thought you were kidding. No, it's real. And so I'm just like, wow, hostile across the board here. But what I've come to find that there's also, when you're hearing your partner just have so many issues about that kind of thing, I would want to say that there should be something in the realm of like, he said, then quit. And I always hated that because Nigel said the same thing, then quit. And it's always just like, cut and dry, just quit, just do it, just leave. And I think Nate should have followed it up with like, hey, financially, we're in a position to where you can quit if this is something that's not working for you.
That's very true.
I would support that decision. / hey, this is really taking a toll on you. Do you think you might want to quit? Oh, I don't want to be a quitter. Okay, I understand that, but just remember, there's no shame in walking away from something if it's like working. I've lived through this, so. But right now, I'm making a grilled cheese, and you're not eating my grilled cheese. So just like, quit your job. Where's the girl that I fell in love with? Okay, you're 20 something right now, so I am sorry that your relationship is not gonna work. But actually, you know what? Hold on. At the end, there's an apology, and he's moving on up in his career, and she's very happy for him. And I actually kind of tuned out on what was actually happening. Something about Boston.
Yes. At that point, it's like, what are we doing? I guess just end the movie. It's fine.
Right. So there's that little bit of possibility. What do you think about that and the movie with the possibilities that they put at the end?
I swear, if I had to guess, I feel like she was going to get back together with him at some point in the future. As much as I don't want that to happen, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Just because you could just see how happy she was with that kind of like the chance of like, oh, we actually might be able to make this work. You're willing to try this again with me, sir? Andy, what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't want it to happen either. I knew that there was the possibility, and I just kind of just shut the movie off. I'm like, I hope it doesn't happen. I just no.
Let's close the computer.
You stay. You stay here, like in New York. You stay in Boston or wherever you are, and that's it.
Right. All right. So this is where I'm going to come in with another deleted scene.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not sure if it's a deleted scene. Again, it's the articles that I read. There was apparently a scene that they had filmed that made it more apparent that they were going to get back together.
Oh.
And in the process, they decided to leave it out because the ambiguous ending was a little bit, I'm not sure what they said, but they decided that it was better to leave it ambiguous. So you think that the movie is implying that there's going to be a reconciliation. And I use that word and it actually came out of my mouth. I'm like, no reconciliation. How dare you? How dare you, movie? I'm thinking about what you're trying to tell me and I'm already angry about it. So yes. So the movie kind of opens again. She apologized. She can apologize for the parts that she did that were, actually bad for the relationship.
Right.
Yeah, actually bad.
Sure.
Because again, she's the protagonist, but she's not the hero. So various choices that she made were not great. And I'm not even going to throw in the whole, like, there are some people who think that she cheated on him. There's like some like, I don't know if it's like the book versus the not book thing again, because I can't remember what happened with that author in the book itself. But I'm going to fight that cheating comment. 100%. I love this. I'm taking outside internet things and throwing at you. What do you think about that? Do you have any thoughts? So you actually, I believe, Marie, you had said that you're not team Nate. Does that mean you're team Christian?
Honestly, like a little bit.
Okay.
I have like mixed feelings about him because I do feel like he had a hidden agenda with her. Like, I get it. But at the same time, and this could be manipulative on both sides, if I was Andy in this situation, because he offered her opportunities and he helped her when she really needed that, when really nobody else was. And so, I appreciate the cause, but the reason behind obviously is not great. However, like I was so frustrated. What is it, at the charity ball when she left to meet somebody from the New York Magazine, whatever, the New Yorker version, because she chose Nate over an opportunity to better herself. And while, I appreciate her love for Nate, sure. But obviously from what I've learned now, we're, in our older age is, when you're that young, you should take those opportunities when they come. And yeah, if this guy was, trying to like get in your pants in the future, at least for tonight, you were about to meet somebody that you may not ever meet in your entire life.
Right.
And that it's frustrating, but I get it. We all got to make those mistakes.
If Nate was like a good guy, he would have understood that she was trying to get ahead. But yes, I didn't like Simon the first time I watched it. I loved him the second time around. I don't know why. I just like, yes, Andy, you get your opportunities.
I don't know why, but when I was watching this for the podcast, I could not stop obsessing about his eyebrows.
Oh my gosh, they were so bushy.
I just couldn't stop staring. I'm just like, they're like there. And they're just just for some reason, I'm just like, well, his hair is that color. His eyebrows are that color. I don't know why I'm obsessing over this. And then he's just like talking some more about just, did you talk about how devastatingly handsome I'm? I'm just like, I don't want to talk. I don't want him to talk anymore. Is he in this movie for very long? I don't think he has a big part in this. Okay. So yeah, it was kind of weird. Like I said, so I'm not team anybody right now. I think I'm team take care of yourself if you're in a relationship this way or a work environment this way. And I don't want to blame her for staying in the job because there is like this perceived I can't quit. And I really relate to that. It's like a weird perfectionism type thing. And I think there's also the way like Emily was, just bam, killing it at her job and the way that she was doing it. It's like, okay, I can do this too, which again, I think it really comes from, oh shoot, I'm saying too much about myself right now, where I'm just like, if this thing that I deem to be silly, and she's killing it at it, clearly I can do this too. And so I think that's where she was coming from on that thing, which is childish in its own way, because then you're just stubborn. Yeah. Then you're just really, really stubborn. And so I was just like, I know that stubbornness, get out of there, please, please. But I'm wondering if she had just like had gone out that quickly, because they're just like, if you stay, you'll get a job anywhere you want. But I'm thinking like, well, what happens if you leave? Like, will she blackball you? Because she kept stumbling into more and more and more that it's just like, oh, you'll never work in this town again. I'm like, what if she had just left from the beginning? Would she have just like never remember? She didn't know her name in the first place anyway, so just run.
Like, you had the out.
Several. And if I can use that as an opportunity, like, while there's okay, Meryl Streep, excellent in this movie. Portrayal of the very powerful woman, excellent representation. We'll just say that. But damn, I can't deal with that level of just destruction in her eyes anytime she just decided to go like, I will destroy you.
Without even saying it. Like, I'm just gonna look at you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a point where Andy was getting not yelled at, but talked to, and Andy was just crying. And I think I would have just cried the whole time I was working for her.
Yeah. I mean, this is not a real poll, but raise your hand if you've ever cried in the bathroom at work. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So
this is a safe space.
Secret ballot. But that's not where we want. That's not where we want the conversation. Actually, you know what? If you have, we see you and we support you. I mean, especially if you've like cut yourself and that's why you're crying. Definitely get medical attention. Oh my God, just that concept in the thing where we had one person cut herself with a letter opener and I'm like, oh my God.
She left her desk. How dare she?
Oh my God. Okay. So I'd like to like a step back. And while you both mentioned that the movie is trying to think that there will be a reuniting, what do you actually think happens next?
That's a good question. I think that she obviously got a job doing a journalist. She's a journalist somewhere, but I honestly don't know. Like, does she stay friends with her friends? Do they come back in the picture because they weren't happy with her?
Yeah.
Does she use her connections? Is Christian back in the picture? Like, just that's what I'm thinking about. For him, I think he just moved to Boston and just did his chef thing. But yeah.
Well, this is what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm hoping is like she crushes, she had that interview at the very end of the movie, but she gets that job, she crushes that. And then she's going to meet a nice journalist young man who like loves her dreams and wants her to go far. And then I think she'll probably have like a little love triangle because Nate's going to come back into the picture because she's happy again. And like, he's doing well. And he's like, eh. And so she'll have to choose between the two. That's what I think.
Oh my God. You're creating a sequel.
I am.
Is there going to be a sequel? Do you know?
I don't know about movies, but there's a book sequel.
Oh.
Which I didn't realize that was happening until, again, I was doing all the watch the movie research for that, and I read the synopsis of it. I'm just like, oh, this doesn't sound like Andy, but people change over the course of a decade and a half, so okay, that's fine. And then I read all of the Goodreads reviews. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to read this. No. Okay.
I will, jump back to something you mentioned earlier about, how she apologized to Nate and how that just hurt my soul so much. And I feel like that really just changed the whole ending for me because it no longer made it about her, I feel like, and about, her aspirations in life and her coming of age. Cause I feel like that was her retracting back to who she was. And it was like, well, what was the point of everything that you just went through?
Right. Yes.
And it's, I had a female boss who was high up, and one of the best advice that she ever gave me was to never apologize until you actually fuck up.
Oh, I like that. That should be
and I took that to heart forever because, she, in that industry, she dealt with a lot of shitty men in the world. And, she fought her way to where she was. And she was like, just stop apologizing. You really never need to. even if you did make mistakes, everybody makes mistakes. So just save it for those big ones where you can't go back on. Like, and And I feel like that's helped me so much throughout like my career, and, made me analyze what everybody did. And, just as a female in the workplace, and like making a name for myself, putting myself in the room and making sure everybody knows I am here to stay.
Excellent. Yes. What you described, if I have a really good relationship with one of my coworkers and she apologizes to me, it'll go to the sarcastic, well, apology not accepted, because you don't need to apologize. I'm glad you made it, or whatever. Yeah, I'm sorry for being late. I'm like, you're here. We're good. Yes. And then you're absolutely right. And one of those little, internet tricks, if you can make it, take the I'm sorry out of your vocabulary, that definitely apologize. Like you said, only when you fuck up. Yeah. But I like trying to undo the I'm sorry, is just, actually like taking it out of my emails and like, let's take this. No. This is what happened. I'm not going to put the sorry in there. And you can also try thanks for your patience.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm learning things from the internet and sharing. And if it works for you, great. And if it doesn't work for you, I'm sorry. Oh, shoot. That just happened. Sorry.
Sorry.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
Okay, sorry.
I need to get like a rubber band on my wrist and flick myself every time I accidentally do it. Or the swear jar version of it. None of that has worked. Okay. So yeah, amazing. Okay, so I've really had to chew on this movie and think about what happens next, because movie's trying to tell us keeping it open-ended. Like it's trying to give you a flavor of a rom-com, despite the fact that the rest of this movie definitely doesn't feel like a rom-com in many ways. But I think what's going to happen is they're not going to get back together. Correct. He goes off to Boston. She tries to move on with journalism. And, there's going to be a lot of things happening, especially if we're talking about literal timelines in 2006. I can tell you that the housing market crash is going to happen not too long for there. So a lot is going to blow up. And I think what's going to happen is that she's going to try her damnedest to like stay in New York the best that she can, but she's going to keep Lily as a friend, because there's going to be some kind of growing together. Like you keep certain friends as you get older and you lose certain friends for other reasons. And for some reason, I'm keeping Lily. And so I think ultimately, like, they're going to kind of cluster together and try to get through the best they can. And something's going to happen to where she thinks she's going to have to move back in with her parents. And was it Ohio where they came from?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's gonna, just kind of find its way back there. But I imagine her, like the experience of watching this movie, thinking like, how can you, treat your man that way? And then just like, I apologize, Nate. And then she's going to like run into him again. They're going to have a nice, lovely catch up session. And then she's going to leave and thinking, well, that's nice that I've grown and he has grown. And then she's going to have like this weird, like, wait a minute. When we were together and I apologize. So she's going to have one of these moments in like a nice weekend where she's like having a glass of wine, trying to undo from her, various different writing careers and working through. She's probably doing the side hustle thing as well, because you're trying to freelance as much as possible. And she's going to be like, wait a minute. How was I responsible for the deterioration of that relationship? Like 100%. Of course, she participated. And that's just how it's going to be, is like, she's going to be learning lessons, but she's also going to have a moment of bitterness. She's like, wait a minute. Oh, how dare I? And also mostly, how dare he? What's wrong with me? Lily's going to be very supportive. Lily learned too.
Was Lily a bigger part of the book? I haven't read the book. Okay.
Yeah, she was. And in fact, the whole catalyst of her leaving Paris had to do with a problem with Lily.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I think they were roommates, and there's just like very, very close relationship. And I think they just kind of touched on it. I've known you for 16 years. And I'm just like, yeah, they were closer in the book, and there was a bigger thing in the book. And instead she's just like, you're cheating on Nate. And I'm just like, nah, Christian was being all creepy and she wasn't being pushy offy. So why don't you ask me what happened? But then that just made her, again, she's the she's the villain again, but also
communication, guys.
Please.
Let's just talk it out, you know?
And that's where Nate failed because I'm going to bed.
His passive aggressive BS.
Yep.
Yes. So, yep. He is, he was there. That's it. That's all I had. So yeah, it's very interesting to talk about The Devil Wears Prada and then just barely touch on, you know, as I mentioned, the star of this movie. But just want to take a couple minutes. Anything that you want to highlight from that movie, you know, Miranda, you've got Nigel, and, you know, we haven't even really touched on Emily, but that's kind of difficult because there were multiple Emilys in this movie, so it kind of got confusing really quickly. But, you know, Devil Wears Prada, we have to give any comments what they're due. So please, I yield the floor.
I mean, we all know the famous just stuff scene. It is iconic.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like at that age that Andy is when she's experiencing this, I feel like this would have been me because I, you know, walking into a room not knowing about anything, I could totally see myself just be like, okay, are we really talking about like a belt? And then just, you know, getting the what's what and having a wake up call of this. Like I respect it. You know, and I respect Miranda for the work that she has created in this empire that she has built. Unfortunately, the people that she may have stepped on to get there, I feel like it's done with everybody who's high up in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And I you know, appreciate the conversation talking about like the difference between like a woman at this level versus a man at this level. People would, you know, consider her kind of character like a bitch and, you know, this like really shitty person. But then, you know, they see the guy as like, he's just really powerful. He's just really assertive. And, you know, opening up that conversation with her character, that's why I love her character so much. For, you know, we all have flaws. She got flaws. But, you know, in her professional world, I respect the hustle. I really do. And I can't even imagine what that must be like for her, you know, dealing with that shit on a daily basis as a woman and keeping this power and authority with everybody because she does know what she's doing and she's going to do it.
Right. And with that, and she's super powerful and everything like that. But I like that this movie showed her family troubles. We saw her breaking down at Paris week, and she was crying because of the divorce. But that was just only a snippet of what she's probably feeling inside every single day. And she's still powerful and a mentor, someone that everyone looks up to. So I really appreciate that the movie and probably the book did that as well.
Interestingly enough, they didn't.
Oh,
There was a kind of like translation where the book was about, you know, this villain and she was the cartoon villain of there and then but with the movie there was a humanizing element to her, and I think that's why I got really confused. I'm like, you can't humanize her, she's a devil.
Oh, that's right. But no, I guess, and then you understand maybe why she's so hard sometimes to people.
Right.
And then also, of course, Emily Blunt's character. I loved her so much in this. I think it was one of her first big character. I don't know if she did anything in the UK, but here I just loved how she was hard and she really loved this job, but she was also kind of like, if someone in that position was telling someone else, like, she didn't sabotage Andy in any like step of the way. Like, this is what you have to do. I want you to do well, but you know, she didn't want to advance by stepping on Andy, like character. So I really liked her as well. So
is one of the big aspects of it. So first of all, love that you brought up the just stuff conversation because it's, you know, it's very iconic. And if anything, looking at it from a more mature perspective, I didn't get it at the time, but now looking at it, I'm just like, yeah, there is a whole knowledge base that comes out of, first of all, being on Miranda's level, but also the people who are there and who need to know these things. There is an impact. I like the concept of, you think that this is just happening, but whether you like it or not, you're part of this whole thing. And and it's very easy for Andy to say, like, it's not like we're curing cancer or anything like that. And I used to have that perception, but I've changed it to, like, there are a very, very small number of people who are curing cancer. So,
Right.
but also that doesn't make them better than the people who are not curing cancer. So all of us are, making a living. Miranda has I'm going to say this, she has the privilege of, one, working in this industry, two, being good and being recognized for being good in this industry. So there's like all these levels of different things going on right now. But just if you look at the knowledge of that she has, the way she's able to do that, I will disagree with one thing where she's just like, fashion, you think this has nothing to do with you, but this is what happened and you're a part of it. And I'm just like, yeah, but what power do you have to make that happen? Like, you say that this is fashion and I can, make that happen. I'm like, Brenda, does that mean that you can make like really, really comfortable clothes fashionable? Get on that, lady.
Like Crocs.
Oh, just like, my feet do not hurt. Hooray. But it's stilettos. We choose stilettos. So right. So I want to fight it, but at the same time, like, no. I have to give respect. Like, again, it comes back to Nigel. Nigel worked his ass off, and I think that's the part that broke my heart the most. Of course, by design, Miranda gets to keep her position. Andy walks away, but she walks away knowing more about herself and feeling that there is an understanding between her and Miranda, because, she gets that positive reference / not I don't know how to, I felt conflicted about that too.
A little backhanded compliment.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, you just got to get one more dig in, don't you? But ultimately, Nigel, and the fact that he was stepped on to get, for Miranda to be where she is, and he's like, I'm gonna have my moment, and I'm like, I've seen the way she helps people. She doesn't. So she doesn't. I hope he gets that, but at the same time, are we just meant to feel sorry for him because of his hope? He calls it his hope, but it's also like really naive.
Why are you still there, Nigel?
Yeah.
Come on, Nigel. You're better.
Right.
We want more for you. You can do it. I hope he can do it. I don't know how that industry works.
I don't know either, but I think it's just for him, he respected Miranda so much because he saw her journey and he's proud to be a part of that journey. It just sucks that he had to get stepped on along the way, even though he knew who she was and was naive that he couldn't be one of those people she would sacrifice if she could. And
right.
It's hard. It's hard.
Right. And if this was like a traditional rom-com, like, Nigel would have left too, and then he would have started his own company, I always feel like so sad, because the positive of rom-coms is just like, awesome, they started their own thing and this is what they do and this is what they love it, but like, so many businesses struggle so hard and you never see the struggle, you just see the success of the yay, we did it.
Not real.
I know.
That's okay. But that's okay. In our head, Nigel is going to get that amazing whatever that he thinks is coming.
To the sequel.
Oh, yay. Exactly. Amazing. Oh, but I would also want to say, though, again, another one of those things that just felt off. That scene at the end where Miranda is telling Andy that she's the exact same, because the way Miranda screwed over Nigel is the exact same way that Andy screwed over Emily. I disagree.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
A little different.
Another one of those things where it's just like, oh, yeah, it is the same thing. So Andy sucks too. And I'm like, wait, no.
Hold on.
No. You threatened to fire her.
Exactly. She was pressured.
Yeah. Whereas your version of that is, this magazine could not run without me. So really it's for the betterment of the magazine. I'm just like, and you happen to stay in charge and reap all the financial benefits and the power and the success. And wait, why don't you threatened to leave if he fired you? Why didn't you just leave if it's that so easy? Damn it, movie.
How dare you?
when you said that you wanted to talk about The Devil Wears Prada because you had thoughts about it, I have feelings about it.
Right.
So thanks for coming and bringing my. I'm like sitting on a confessional right now. So I was just out of college. So this is like mildly catharsis, but at the same time, I think I need like a wet compress on my head to recover.
I feel like what I also love about this movie is at least I'd like to think that, a lot of ladies have experienced these kinds of conversations, whether in the workplace or with their spouses and loved ones, who just, didn't understand what we're going through and wanting to try to succeed. And we're going to do whatever it takes, especially at a young age. We got the time, we got the energy, we got the drive. So why not? Like, why is that such a bad thing?
Yeah, and this movie taught me that it's okay to grow up from your partner. Like it's completely fine to just have different goals in life. So I really liked it.
Excellent. No, good. If we're getting something positive out of it too, I thumbs up. Very happy about that. Oh man. Oh, thank you. That was great. Anything else you want to like shout out before we get to know you a little better?
I do feel like this was a good therapeutic movie as an adult.
Yes, I agree completely.
Totally. So, Drunk on Rom-Coms, tell me a little bit more about what you do. I know it. Tell people who are listening a little bit more about Drunk on Rom-Coms.
So, Drunk on Rom-Coms is a podcast where Connie and I talk all things romantic comedies, good, the bad, the ugly, and make sure we have some type of alcohol in our hand during the process, because that's when really everything's off limits at that point. We're going to say what we're going to say about it.
Yep. I mean, it's really, you don't know what's going to come out of our mouths. And usually we take a shot before we start an episode, and it's our choice is tequila. So we like to start our episode with a shot of tequila and then just go on in.
Honesty flows from the tequila.
It does. It's like celebrating a great episode.
Hey, wonderful. And if I may ask, you both were taking wonderful sips throughout. What are we drinking right now?
I was drinking champagne.
Me too.
Oh. I took it as a compliment of celebrating this conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, we do celebrate every opportunity to meet new people. We were super excited to do this.
We were.
So, of course, we're going to pop some champagne.
Amazing. Thank you. All right. So where can people find Drunk on Rom-Coms and yourselves?
We have a website called drunkonromcoms.com, and also our Twitter and Instagram handles are at drunkonromcoms. And then you can find me at at Connie Cartagena on Instagram.
And for any of the followers here, Connie is single and ready to mingle.
I live in California.
And only mature Nates can apply.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. No, I'll definitely link to all of that in the show notes so people can find you both. And oh my God, this was amazing. Thank you so much. And consider yourselves welcome back.
Yay! Thank you so much for having us.
This is so much fun.
Thank you. Oh my God. Yes, it was. And until next time, may your aftermath be happy.